Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to One Piece, episode 794 to 796. So yeah, we're here with another episode of One Piece, and I know I had said when we were starting this that this is going to be kind of more of like, oh, whenever I get to it, I'm going to focus on the other things, but, it's just going to be part of the schedule now, and I think part of the reason is just because I've been on kind of a big One Piece kick lately. Between the reaction series I've been watching of Ruffles TV and AJ Rich, I recently started. I've just been really getting into One Piece again, and that was one of the big reasons I wanted to react to the movie. And afterwards, one of the reasons I decided to react to the series as well. Well, get back into reacting to the series. I just really wanted to get into this again. I missed One Piece. I missed watching it, and well, yeah, reacting to it for as little as I did back then. I missed it, and I've watched many times um the older episodes and stuff, but I haven't like really continued in the newer stuff, and I don't fully know why. I think part of it is just because it's like every little bit I get further and further behind, I'm just like I just get kind of disillusioned to continuing because it's like I'm so far behind at this point. I don't know. But either way, I am very excited to continue. I very much really enjoy the series. It's one of my favorite anime of all time by far. I don't know exactly where it would place, but yeah. Excuse me. Don't know where all the awning's coming from, but never know where all the awning's coming from. We had some interesting stuff start to happen last time. We entered this forest with Luffy's crew, gang, the group that Luffy's with at the moment. um, and within the forest, there seemed to be this weird shit happening. There's first we see a clone of Luffy, and then we see this guy who's like kind of just stuck in the ground, in the sand. This giant guy. We see like every time they try to get out, they just end up kind of reversing on themselves because the actual forest itself is alive thanks to Big Mom's devil fruit power and is actively keeping them in there, moving things around and shit. It's just like, yeah, that's fun. And then, like, I believe at the very end, last time we met Brule, who's this witchy looking bitch, who I assume is partially behind all of this trickery in the forest. We also had met this mysterious rabbit who, according to Carrot, is not a mink. So that kind of makes you question, who is he? Is he a Zoan Devil Fruit type user? Is there something else going on? Who knows? It's hard to say. Hell, it could be something to do with Big Mom's Devil Fruit power. He could be like some kind of stuffed animal or something for all we fucking know. Um, Maybe we'll find out. But on the other side of things, we also saw Sanji dealing with his family. He takes out Yanji in battle pretty quick, and then he kind of has this confrontation with his father, Vinsmoke Judge. And we even get a flashback showing Sanji as a kid prior to when he was a chef's apprentice. So, flashback from even before the flashback we saw in the Baratie arc. So, which I had just recently watched again. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of fresh in my mind at this point. And yeah, by the way, his child self is definitely voiced by the same voice actor as Chopper. That's like very obvious. I even noticed it while rewatching the Baratie arc. It's obvious. It's not the first time. There's a bunch of characters voiced by the same voice actor as Frankie, so it's like It's not a big deal. It happens, especially when there's as many characters as there are in One Piece. But yeah, looked like Sanji and Judge were about to have a fight. So maybe we're going to pick up there. Maybe we're going to pick up with Brule and them. Um, Now, the thing is, we also saw Reiju, and Reiju, Sanji's sister, seems to be just as implicit in everything as Yanji and the brothers were. Although she doesn't seem to be attacking Sanji in the past and in the flashback and everything, she's very much just laughing at him and just like, she seems to be more of like the sadistic type who just likes to watch, who just likes to see other people doing this shit rather than actually partaking in it herself. And I mean, by all means, these characters are royalty. Vince Smoke Judge is basically a king. And so Sanji is a prince, which actually is really funny when you think about it, because in the past of the series, he's used the nickname, the code name Mr. Prince. And I actually I've been watching some reviews on the One Piece arcs, and the guy I watch it from, I think the channel's name is Totally Not Mark. But when he was talking about that arc when Sanji first used the name Mr. Prince, he's like, oh, he's using that because he sees himself as rescuing the princess and shit. And it's like, okay, I see what you're saying. But at the same time, it's like, no, we find out he's saying that because he's actually legitimately a fucking prince. Which means Reiju is technically a princess. Princess Reiju. But anyway. So yeah, Reiju definitely kind of pisses me off as well. Because I hate people who sit back and gain some kind of sick pleasure from other people's pain, especially when they also see themselves as like just so much higher and more important than others. And that definitely seems to be the thing with the Vince Smoke family, Garma 66, if you want to refer to them by that. Now, as for who would win this battle between Sanji and Judge, I'm kind of actually unsure because Sanji is one of the big three of the Straw Hat crew. He has a mastery of haki. He's extremely powerful, like to an obscene amount, honestly. And I definitely don't think he'll hold back against his father. I do not think he will. I don't think he has that care up for his father that would make him hold back. But we don't really know how strong Judge is. And knowing how One Piece tends to go, the villains do get stronger and stronger. So I assume Judge has to be extremely strong. And there's also the idea that Judge also uses I would assume, a very different fighting style. Remember, Sanji learned his fighting style initially from Zeph. I like to put it this way. Judge may be Sanji's father, but he's not his daddy. Zeph is Sanji's daddy. And yeah, I kind of stole that idea from Guardians of the Galaxy. Technically Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Still. But yeah, it's kind of that same concept. Sanji does not in any way see Judge as his dad. Chef Zeph is his dad. But yeah, Sanji initially learned his fighting style from Zeph. The part about never using your hands for battle because the hands are a chef's treasure. The part about just the style of kicking and shit, that was all Zeph. And yes, he improved on it over time, using things he learned throughout his journeys and stuff with the crew. And even during the time where the crew was separated after Sabayati. Like, yeah, he learned a lot during that time. So, of course, Of course, his style has evolved past just what Zeph taught him. I mean, Zeph, to our knowledge, didn't know hockey. That's a big thing right there. Um, but even so, Judge's style would probably be more connected to Gamma 66. They probably have their own kind of uniform style to the way they fight. And so it's going to be interesting to see what that is, how Judge fights. He probably does use his hands, all things considered. I could also see Judge being a very cheap fighter. But I also think he is extremely strong. And not just because of his size. I think he's just going to be one of those fighters who just has a lot of power and experience behind him, who knows what he's doing in a fight and knows how to utilize that. Even though they definitely seem to have a holier than thou attitude to them, I do definitely believe that they have pride in their fighting ability. It definitely seemed like that, based on the flashback, how they were picking on Sanji because he was weak at that age. And how instead of like training to fight and stuff, which as we found out last time as well, Gamma 66, they train every day. Instead of doing stuff like that, Sanji would secretly run off to the kitchens and cook because that was what he liked. That was his passion. Also, we have not yet met Sanji's mother, so I wonder if we're going to meet her at some point. Is she part of Gamma 66 too, or did she actually not? Is she dead? We don't even know. Or is she like one of those situations where she actually is more on Sanji's side or something? Wonder if we're going to ever find that out. What the deal with all of that is. I'm actually very interested in both sides of this arc story. The stuff with Sanji and Gamma 66, as well as the stuff with Whole Cake Island and Big Mom. Both sides of this story are very fascinating and very interesting to me. And I'm excited to see where both of them go. Big Mom is not the most interesting villain to me, but she definitely has a unique style to her that makes her very much a force to be reckoned with, for one, obviously, being one of the four Yonko. But even beyond that, she's just extremely unique in design, in ability, even in personality to a degree. So I'm very much interested to see where this kind of shit's gonna go. But I guess we should just get this started and find out. We're doing 3 episodes again today, as I said. This is not always going to be the case. I think I said this last time as well, but we're not always going to do 3 episodes. It's going to kind of just be whatever I'm feeling is right. We could do, technically, we could do more, we could do less. It just depends on whatever I'm feeling. I do tend to want to do more almost, though. Like, I want to do a bunch of episodes at a time just because it's like, there's a certain desire to kind of catch up with this series. But it's still going to take a while to do that anyway. Maybe like at some points we'll have like a week of like One Piece reactions, just One Piece, to try and catch up a little more. But it's like sometimes, yeah, I might only be up for doing 1 episode in a reaction. It might happen. So I can't obviously promise anything, but yeah, this is how we're going to do it for the time being, at least. Just kind of like take it as we go. And that's that. So yeah. Either way, like I said, I'm very excited to get to more of this and find out what happens next, so let's get this started. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in three, two, one, now. Okay, so there's a few things to talk about here. First off, I really like that we saw like a little flashback to Chef Seth. That was just really nice to see again, and I was really hoping we would, especially with getting Sanji's biological father, Vince Smoke Judge, in this arc. I was hoping we would definitely see a lot more back to Zeph or Sanji directly mentioning Zeph or whatnot. Because let's be honest, Zeph was very easily a father figure to Sanji. Like prior to even knowing about Sanji's actual family, pretty much everyone that I have known have referred to as Zeph kind of like as that father figure role to him. We know they're not actually related, but you kind of see that kind of dynamic between them. Even if they argue and everything, they have a great love and respect for each other. And you see that very much during the Baratier arc. Um, so I'm very glad we got that. But I'm also very glad we got the opposite at the same time. Because while we saw, my hair is just not cooperating as always. Because while we saw Zeph and got reminded of how great of a father figure he was to Sanji and how much Sanji loves and respects him, we also got to see more of Vince Smoke Judge and see his relationship with Sanji play out a lot more. Not only just between their fights, but actually learn more about how they view each other. I mean, it's been obvious Sanji doesn't view Judge as his father. He sees Judge as, yeah, they're biologically related, but that's pretty much it to him. He has no love for him. He just has animosity and hatred. And honestly, fair enough. Um, and Judge, we find out here, doesn't even really see Sanji as his son. He sees Sanji as, well, as he put it, a sacrifice. He didn't want to give up one of his beloved children to Big Mom. So he remembered he had another son, and they coerced Sanji into coming. And yeah, he's using Sanji literally as a sacrifice just to get Big Mom to work with them so they can take over the North Blue. It just shows that Judge sees Sanji as worthless, as less than human. Because not only just because of Sanji rebelling against the family's interests and their style and their just beliefs and everything, but he sees Sanji as worthless and all because basically because he sees him as weak, because he sees him as different, because Sanji likes to cook, because Sanji is not like it was not, at least growing up, a strong focused fighter like they were, that Sanji had other ideas for his life. Because of that, we see that Judge views Sanji as lesser. And it kind of goes into what I was saying with the entire idea of Judge and the rest of Gamma 66 having this holier-than-thou attitude. Basically seeing themselves as so special and important and powerful and everything because they're royalty, because they're literally special in their eyes. And so they see others beneath them. And you see this all the time. You see this all the time in different shows, movies, games, etc. Those with power, not just flaunting it, but seeing those without power as being beneath them, as being lesser beings. You see this all the time, but you also see a good amount of royalty and leaders and stuff being pretty cool, seeing themselves as more of like servants to the people. Like they're in power, yes, but they are enacting the will of those who follow them. And those are like the good kind of leaders. The leaders who are for the people and are using their positions of power to help and to kind of, in some ways, get down on the people's level. A great example of that from this very show, the Nefertari family from Alabasta, Nefertari, Cobra, and Vivi. They're royalty. They are the royalty of the kingdom of Alabasta. But they are very much good people who care about their kingdom and they'll get down and dirty, and they'll even to some degrees like pretend to not be royalty just so they can help out their fellow citizens. I mean, Vivi went undercover in Baroque works in order to help her citizens, completely forgoing her identity as a princess. And we saw multiple times Cobra was willing to get down and dirty, was willing to like go undercover and just mess around in the dirt and even get like even up and close and comfortable with the citizens of Alabasta in order to, connect with them. They are a great example of royalty. But then you see the Vinsmoke family of Garma 66, and you see how they are definitely the complete opposite side. They see themselves as so above others that you even see in these episodes. Judge orders some of his citizens, his followers, to literally act as a meat shield for him. One of these people who he then proceeds to impale in order to attack Sanji, who is thrown off by the meat shield already, and refuses to attack them because they're innocent in terms of that fight. It's super fucked up, and they just stood there. The guy just stood there and took it gladly. Everyone around cheered. The other two who were there as the meat shield, they didn't even flinch at that. Because that's how they're raised. They're raised basically as human fodder. They're raised in a way to where they have no value in their lives outside of being in servitude to the Vinsmoke family. And that's all kinds of fucked up. That is all kinds of fucked up. I can't express hard enough how much that pisses me off. And it goes for any situation like that. Whenever a person in power, whether they're royalty, whether they're a president, a prime minister, a chief of a village, whatever, just any kind of leader, elected or not, when they turn their backs on their people like that and treat their people like servile fodder, it pisses me the fuck off. Because it's devaluing human life to put yourself on a pedestal that most of the time you don't deserve. You see this in all kinds of media, you see this in real life, and it's fucking sick. It's fucking disgusting, and it pisses me the fuck off. And yes, I get that's the point that Oda was going for with the Vinsmoke family. He wanted them to be despised. He wanted them to be seen as villains. And it's like, we've had villains in One Piece we've hated before. Like Arlong, great example. Crocodile. But the Vinsmoke family, and especially Judge, this is a whole new level. Like, this is a new level for me of hate. I think I hate Judge more than I've hated any other character in this show. I think he's just that much despised by me. And I will admit, part of it is because of my own issues. Part of it is because of relatability to Sanji in this situation. Not to this degree, of course, but I know what it means to have shitty, abusive father. I understand. Again, nowhere near to this degree, mind you. Nowhere near. But still, I get it. I understand the idea. And a lot of times, even though it is nowhere near this degree, I feel the kind of pain and animosity that Sanji feels here. I get it. I understand the idea. I understand what it's going for, and I think that makes me that much angrier. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I hate Vince Smoke Judge and Gamer 66 and all of them as characters. They're very well made and handled. And I think Oda did a fantastic job at them. I don't hate them as characters, I just hate them on a personal level based on their personality, their ideals, their beliefs, all of that stuff. As characters, they're very well made. But I just hate them, you know? I despise them. God. And it's funny because by comparison, Big Mom, who technically is the main villain of this arc, I like a lot more. I mean, I still don't like her completely, but I mean, because look at it. Big Mom's big goal here is equality. She wants all the races to live together in harmony under her rule, under her thumb, and wants them to pay a tax of their literal souls to do so, but she does want equality. She has a good idea and is just executing it horribly shitty. It's like this horribly shitty execution of a pretty nice idea. Because the idea of wanting equality between races, that's fantastic. I love that. Again, in real life or in media, whatever case you want to look at. And I agree with it wholeheartedly. And it's just, those kind of villains are the most interesting to me. When it's very clear that they're villains, they're doing this horribly bad, shitty stuff, but their goals are actually noble. When a villain actually has a good, positive goal and just handles it in such a horrible, evil way, that is fascinating to me. Probably one of the best examples of that is Light Yagami from Death Note. Light Yagami is by no means a good person. He is in every way the villain of Death Note. He is evil, he is sick, he is sadistic, but he has a noble goal: to rid the world of criminals, to protect the innocent, and rid the world of the evil. Now, mind you, he gets way off track on that goal and tends to, like, villainize people who aren't actually bad guys and kills a lot of innocents in his quest. But his initial goal is admirable to a degree. It's the way he handles it, the way he executes it. And Light Yagami is such a fucking well-written character that even though you understand what he's doing is evil and fucked up, you are so invested in seeing what happens next, what he does. And in some small ways, you understand him. You understand his point of view. And that's what makes a compelling villain. And there's other ways to make compelling villains, but that's a really great way to make a compelling villain. And I think in that way, Big Mom is really compelling. Again, like I had said before, she's not my favorite villain of One Piece by any means. I still love villains like Arlong and Crocodile much more. Don Quixote Doflamingo, fantastic villain. But I still love the villains as well who have legitimately noble goals, but just execute them in the most horribly evil ways. It's so fascinating, and I'm glad to see Oda doing that with Big Mom. And in these episodes as well, we get to meet some more members of their family. We get to meet Brule in more detail here. The witch-like Brule is a mirror devil fruit eater. She has the ability to create mirrors. It was worded weird. It was like she was like saying like she could become a mirror, but that's not quite what it seemed like she was doing. It was more that she could like summon mirrors out of nothing, create mirrors like within the confines of her hands and stuff. Um, that she could then use to reflect things. She could make these animal-like reflections of people and shit. Anything that has been reflected within her mirror. Um, and all kinds of shit like that. It's wild. But she could also absorb her enemies into her mirror and like trap them in kind of this like pocket dimension. So she has a really interesting ability there. We also briefly get a glimpse of Charlotte Cracker. Now, unlike Brule, her devil fruit definitely relies more on trickery and careful planning and everything, Charlotte Cracker, just based purely on the little bit we've seen of him, seems to be definitely more of a brute type character. He has the big weapon. He's this big guy, big weapon, big armor. He's probably going to be one of those heavy hitter attacker types. But the name Cracker also, at least to me, kind of implies a fragility. So maybe he's kind of a glass cannon, like very, very brittle, very maybe even easy to take down if you can hit him. But he's so powerful, so strong, that it's probably going to be difficult to land a proper, strong hit on him. So I'm interested to see where that goes. We also see a small bit of Capone Beige, which cool to see him again. Capone, as we see, has a family. He's married to a member of the Charlotte family and even has a newborn son. We see him shoot Peckhams down into the sea, about to be stormed by sharks. And I still think that that's not the end of Peckhams. I, for some reason, do not think he's dead. I think one of two things is going to happen. Either somehow Peckhams is going to escape this. I don't know how, but somehow he's going to. Or this was a setup. That Capone faked it and is working with Peckhams and is actually a fairly good guy, I guess you could say. One of the two. And I don't know which one it is. But I guess we'll find out. I do not think he's dead for the life of me, and if he is, that sucks, because I like Peckhams, but what can you do? I don't think he is, though. Especially because that scene was played out very just kind of randomly and suddenly. So I think that would be kind of a weak way to take him out. For honestly, as kind of important as he is going into this, I don't think he's going to be taken out that easily. We get a little scene as well with Baron Tamago and Pudding. And Pudding is just trying to pick out a wedding dress and stuff. But through that scene, we find out that Big Mom and all knows about all of this going on. And it's very much implied that it's because of the flowers and shit. Because basically Pedro and Brooke are like, wait, how did they know? And then it kind of like pans out and you see the backs of a couple of flowers, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Because basically Big Mom has spies everywhere, if you really think about it. So it's like, you literally can't get anything past her because of her devil fruit ability. So yeah, we have that going on. And in the meantime, we also have this giant guy who's been stuck in the sand. We find out was actually the husband of Charlotte Linlin, of Big Mom. But we are also told, like by the way he words it and all, that he was the husband. So the question is, what happened? Is it that he spoke out against her? Maybe. Maybe we'll find out. Now, he's already said that he buried himself there So why? Was he already trapped in the forest and couldn't get out, or is there something more going on? There's a lot of questions that brings up. We also found out the truth behind the rabbit as well. We find out that souls that Big Mom takes not only can give life to certain plants and inanimate objects and shit, but if she plants them into animals and stuff, they can also take on anthropomorphic features. So this was just a normal everyday rabbit that Big Mom implanted with a piece of soul and is now serving her and her family. So that's really interesting in and of itself. I think that's a really interesting part of this, and adds a little more to her powers. But yeah, this is going to be really interesting because now at the moment with our main group, Luffy's group in the forest, they have to deal with two different enemies. There's Brule, whose trickery is kind of like led her to being able to just escape and just do whatever basically at this point in this forest. She's pretty much got them at her mercy. And now Crackers come in as well. So they've got two big enemies to take down. I assume they're going to have to deal with Cracker first, and then they'll deal with Brule. Because I assume Brule's going to come last, so that they're able to rescue Chopper and Carrot. And I assume Chopper has also been brought into the mirror dimension. So either that, or they're going to be able to defeat Brule first, rescue Chopper and Carrot, and they'll be able to help in defeating Cracker. It's got to be one of the two. One of those two options. I don't know how long it'll take, but yeah. But either way, yeah, this arc is turning out to be very interesting. It's got two main plot lines with a bunch of small threads kind of dangling around them. The two main plot lines being both the stuff with Big Mom and just all of the shit going on with her, and then the second one being the Vinsmoke family. And I like the way Oda did this as well, like having both of these main plot lines focused on family and the different aspects of them, and even the different ways they kind of view them. Like, it's very clear the Vinsmoke family has a very different view of the word family than the Charlotte family does. Big Mom, I think, very much clearly has a love for her family. She cares for them. It very much, hell, in general, it seems like she cares for people of any race, any species. But it's like the Vinsmoke family, complete opposite. It's like if they're not valuable to you, if they don't do what you say, then they don't matter. So it's like, it's wild to think about. And again, you have all these little plot threads and all these little things that are kind of tying these two stories together and all. We even find out in these episodes what happened with Jinbei and Big Mom, that Jinbei refused Big Mom's deal, that he didn't sacrifice part of himself in order to gain his freedom, which was obviously going to happen. But still, that means he is still under control of Big Mom. So how is he going to gain his freedom? What is going to happen? Because they're clearly building that up. They built that up with Brooke even thinking back to Fishman Island and thinking about how Jinbei made the promise that he would join the crew once he gained his freedom. So they're definitely building up a lot. And again, all these threads tying these plot lines together. This is a very interesting arc. It has a very interesting style to it. and I really like the way Oda's handling it. Plus, it's just really fun in a way. The stuff with Big Mom and all of her powers and the living creatures and all the candy and shit, like it's fun. It's a fun, goofy, silly, ridiculous kind of style, kind of theme, and I enjoy it. But tell me in the comments below what you thought of these episodes of One Piece. And thank you so much for tuning in. So for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.